Hi there, my name's Jane Anderson, and this is the Jane Anderson Brand You Show. It's the podcast for experts who want to have greater impact, influence, and income for their businesses and careers. As experts, we know that people buy from people and work with people who they know, who they like, and who they trust. So I'm so glad you're here because it's that time again now to really amplify how you show up in the world. Hi there and welcome, Renée. Thank you so much for jumping on today. I am beyond thrilled to have you on the podcast today. I know I've been on the podcast before, but what I really wanted to do today was you've been so generous in agreeing to jump on today because we're part of a special series at the moment where I'm interviewing some of the people, particularly who are in our Women with Influence community or the people that I've worked with and mentored to be able to build their practices. But I want to be able to tap in at the moment, particularly because you've launched your book, and we have talked previously about that. But today's a real under the bonnet, if you like, in your practice. So thanks again for jumping on, Renée.
Amazing. Been looking forward to this, and thanks for having me. And I'm honoured to be able to share some things. So
thanks so much. So Renée, most of the people who will be watching this or listening to this, women who have their own consulting practices, thinking about being able to either grow it, work with large organizations, or perhaps they've been trying to work with large organizations and they're struggling to kind of get to grow. Can you tell us a little bit about your practice, how you sort of started and what made you get into, building RenéeGiarrusso.com?
Yeah, I had 12 years in corporate and a variety of senior leadership and sales and marketing roles, and I absolutely love the people development, the coaching, started running a lot of the Mars University trainings, and just knew I had a passion and energy and gift for it.
Yeah.
It became the favorite part of what I did. So that's nearly 16 years ago. Wow. And I look back now and it was a really uncomfortable journey leaving because I had the safe cocoon of the corporate world. And
yes,
I just knew my big why, and it's still a big part of my why, really making workplaces better places to work.
right,
And applying my knowledge, experience, and what I've seen across, such a diverse array of clients to leaders and teams, not because I'm their manager, but because they want to grow.
right.
And that led me on a journey that's, been quite an evolution. I'm a high to medium change person in what I do. So sort of every 3 to 3.5 years, my message doesn't change, but I always have new content, new ideas. So I think I'll always be happy because I'm satisfying that.
Yeah. Well, you've come on a massive journey, Renée. Like if you come from, I'm just looking at some of the things even behind you. You've got a bunch of incredible books there. You've written 3 books. So you wrote Limitless Leaders, and then you wrote a collaboration, which is around leaders of influence. And now, are you happy to tell us a bit about the new book that you've done, which is particularly Gift Mindset, yeah?
Yeah, Gift Mindset. And I think all the books or, writing I've done for years has led to Gift Mindset. Gift Mindset's my big book.
Yes.
It's my legacy book. And it is a book I do feel really proud of because it's helping a lot of people. And, it's all about, I think, a trait that all of us in life or leadership need, and that is being open to unwrap the gifts in challenges and successes and share them.
Right. So you just made a really interesting comment because this is, particularly for women, there's some men who will listen to this as well, but I'm thinking about the women who are starting a practice. So you started out with your leadership programs, wrote a leaders book specifically around that. Then you've sort of elevated into another, it's not really another message, but it's an elevated version.
It is
of your leadership message and stepping into Gift Mindset. Does that mean you still run the same programs, or does it, how does that work?
Yeah, good question. So Limitless Leadership, I think, was all around, that's the name of the program. It's one of our sort of brands, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think, look, if I think of a limitless leader, it's a leader that learns so they think, unlearns so they rethink, and relearn so they refresh.
Right.
And I think what I really realized was there's so many enablers and tools that make up a limitless leader, but the foundation of all of it is self-leadership and mindset.
Right.
And gift mindset has become part of the Limitless Leaders programs.
Right.
But I really believe that creating a gift mindset culture and having limitless leaders and teams is all one, if that makes sense. Okay. All about connection, collaboration, being open, sharing and growing each other, really no matter what role you're in.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing, Renée, is that you started in this space, and I think this is one of the challenges sometimes for, if you're having your own practice and consulting, is that you go, it's really easy to sort of go, oh, I'm in the leadership space, I'll stay in the leadership space. But what you've done is you've gone, yes, I'm that, and I'm also, so your practice has really evolved into, you're not losing the leadership identity or anything like that.
No.
You've just continued to evolve your thinking, which is around being able to not just shift from leaders, but to cultures that embrace a limitless leader's mindset, but also a gift mindset as a cultural norm, if you like.
Spot on. I think leadership's like the movie title.
Right.
I was saying this the other day to someone, leadership's, it's a big word. People understand it. But under that, you have communication, you have motivation, you have mindset. And to me, mindset's foundational. So I really amplified the work around that.
Yep.
And it's applicable to anyone in any role, but we predominantly work with mid-tiers, leaders at all levels, and their teams. And the programs are obviously for leaders, and then we have our team programs, which are more around collaboration, understanding motivation, and connecting. Yeah.
Right. So can you tell us a bit, Renée, like I'm thinking about, and you would know this from when you started your practice, like sometimes you look at people's practices and you're like, well, does that mean you are a leadership executive coach, or like then you've got these resources. So you deliver workshops and training, and that's virtual plus face-to-face, because you've been in Victoria and Melbourne for the last 2 years.
Yeah, 190 virtual sessions between April 2020 and I think June this year, 2021. So, so 3 parts to the business, really. So we have a coaching arm, so one-on-one and group coaching, and I do have some contract coaches that help out to scale things.
Okay.
Transformational workshops, which I love.
Yes.
And we work with leaders and teams, from presenting and mindset to really enabling leaders to lead, not manage and create future leaders. That's sort of our special sauce. And then we have the speaking side.
Yes.
So they're the 3 ways we deliver our message. And then obviously, as you know, being an amazing author, authoring, publications, podcasts and things like that.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the all. They're sort of the or that support the message across those other modes of delivery.
Got it. And so when you created your Limitless Leaders book, that was self-published, and then with the gift mindset, you decided to go with a publisher. What has been the biggest difference in those 2 things for you in your practice?
Yeah, it's a good question, and the anthology in the middle. So, me, all about diversity. It says, isn't it? Didn't think of that. It is quite different. I think there's no right or wrong. You've got to feel and know your strategy. Limitless Leaders, I was approached to publish with a publisher. Yep. But I, to be honest, didn't know a lot about the difference. I wasn't ready, and I don't regret not publishing that to a publisher. With Gift Mindset, I just felt it was bigger. I wanted distribution through bookstores, airports, global scale. We've done an audio book. And I just found, and I've been...
Sorry, hold on one sec. Is that mic is that making a funny sound for you? No, I'm getting some kind of, I don't know what it is. It sounds like there's a mic floating around. You haven't got a mic floating around anywhere?
No.
No.
Is that better? No, I haven't moved.
It sounds like something's moving, or anyway, I don't know. It happened once and then it's happened a couple of times, but anyway.
Yeah, I can't hear any.
No, you can't hear it. All right. That's okay.
Let's edit that bit out.
That's right.
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate to have a very supportive publisher, and her team's been very supportive. That's why I went with them.
Right.
So yeah, you get a lot of support, as in, you know, they help promote, market, give you ideas.
Okay.
But a big part of it is the distribution.
Right.
You know, Limitless Leadership, I got into 3 stores that I walked into with a box of books.
Right.
Whereas Gift Mindset's got a global reach.
Yes.
And obviously we did, as you know, publicity with that, which was a lot of work, but would do that again. That's definitely helped me write a lot of IP and get the message out there, you know, radio, TV, newspapers, magazines, all that sort of thing.
So just to clarify for those who are listening or watching, is that means like you've worked with a PR agency to encourage, to go, okay, because they've got the relationships with all those, whether it's TV, whether it's the CEO magazine, whether it's heading into the Today Show, a Financial Review, the Age, all those things, is that quite often when you're elevating up into this bigger message that you've got, is that there we go, okay, now it's time to amplify in your practice. So that's a really key, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you hit the nail on the head. I think the message of your book will dictate almost like whether you go self-published or not.
Right.
So Limitless Leadership, I couldn't see that in some of the shops maybe that Gift Mindset in. Gift Mindset's got a very broad market, as you know.
Yes.
It's under motivation, leadership, career, personal development, personal growth, whereas Limitless Leadership would have probably only been under leadership.
Yeah, okay. So, and being able to elevate your message like that, like your practices had to have been around for some time, you've got good clients you've been working with, all that sort of thing. It's really, it's sort of easy to go, and think, I'll go for that big message in that big market. Like you spent a long time in your own practice building up to that point. What are some of the things, we're talking about some of the things that you've implemented? We talk about the expert to influencer methodology. So things like the leads from the stage, we talk about newsletter distribution, we talk about building the tribe and building the community. We talk about social media content, lead gen, all those types of things. If you had to think about, the things that you've worked on, particularly over the last couple of years with implementing that, what have been some of the things that have worked particularly well for you, Renee?
Where do I start? Your advice has been absolute gold, and there's so many things that I've gleaned from you, and like with anything, some things you embrace, some you're not ready for. A big thing that you've really helped me sort of solidify is narrow down, go back to the basics. I think we do that at the start of a practice or a business, then we get so in service and attention out. And I'm happy to share recently, we had an amazing chat about some things that weren't working, and it was literally, I was overthinking it. It was just going back to the basics and making sure I have the right tribe. I reach a lot of people, but it's a super highway. Who's in the service lane that I should be targeting? Something else, there's so many things. Importance of positioning has been a big thing that I've learned through you. And I think really understanding my self-worth and having currency around that. So, a lot of us, when we start out with speaking, we do a lot of bus scouts. And you really taught me that get something back, whether it's people to add to your list, whether it's getting to go into a client and have a further chat, but always have something to offer as a bit of a hook, just being in service and having that abundance mentality. Something else, you asking for help.
Yeah.
I've always, I wouldn't say I had an issue with it, but I'm so attention out, helping people that I find it hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I've learned through you and all the methodologies you just outlined, it's about that and having the right support around you.
Yes.
And being open to that support changing.
Right.
I think too often we can go, we're with some amazing people and that's permanent.
Yes.
Changes.
Yeah.
I wrote something on this today. My support network has almost flipped in the last 2 years.
Really?
No fallouts, just different priorities, attracting different people.
Yeah.
Really important. And probably another key thing is around building the tribe. You know, you talk about the 15, the 150. The 15's changed a lot for me. The 150, I think if you're listening or watching and you're delivering a lot, I think sometimes you can actually build such great relationships with, participants.
Yes.
That you're not nurturing maybe the right relationships because they're not in the workshop, so to speak.
Yeah. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
I've fallen into that. So obviously I speak to, HR and all the people I'm supposed to and have great relationships with them, but to the point where a lot of participants reach out. So it's almost like you have a tribe of the people you deliver to, but like you've mentioned, you need that tribe of the people that, bring you in for your services.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's quite often one of the most common things that comes up is, and even from a marketing perspective, is to go, oh, yeah, I've got, all these people on my database, and I'll say, okay, so where are they from? Oh, they were participants in the workshop.
Yeah.
That's lovely. But, they're a long-term one because that might take another 10 years or 5 years before they're in a role or even have any influence over buying decision. Still great to have them on your list because if you go in public market, you may decide, okay, I'm going to run one-day workshops or whatever it might be, particularly once you've got past that 500,000 in revenue type space and the positioning and the leverage.
Yeah.
But you're spot on. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is.
Because it's addictive, right? Because they love you. They're like,
and you're in service.
I love how you said that.
Yeah, it's probably been the biggest learning in the last, 3 months leading up to us chatting today.
Yeah.
Is, making sure that you really get a bit more strategic because it's easy to deliver a service or a product to the actual user, so to speak.
Yes.
And forget about who else should I be talking to.
Yeah.
And it can simply be, I look back years ago and I just said to someone, who would you refer me to? And they said, I'd refer you to this person in another organisation, and they became my biggest client. Now, if I hadn't asked that, and I think too, with the virtual world, when you're in an office running stuff, a lot of clients run things in their training rooms or HR or, the CEO will walk in. Virtually, you don't have that. And this is something I realised recently.
Right.
So you don't have that networking and almost business development because you're not in the office.
Yes, that's
you're
right.
running the 4, 5, 6 hour program, then you run it 2 weeks later, whatever, do the coaching in between.
Yes.
But you're not necessarily in front of the decision makers regularly. I reckon there's something in that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're not, if they're going, yep, can you deliver this, and you're doing the debrief or whatever, you're not visible walking through the corridors or in the tea room grabbing a drink, and you run into this person, or
it's the water cooler conversations people are missing. But as practice or as consultants, trainers, coaches, speakers, we're missing that too.
That's right. It's so true. If you think about someone, if they're sitting here like they're in awe of you because you have created an extraordinary practice, you are one of the hardest working experts that I know, you have this incredible energy that you just don't seem to be able to, it just seems to be endless, this energy that you have. And it takes a lot of energy to run a practice. If someone was sitting here listening to you, Renée, and if they've, let's say, they say where your practice was, say 12 months ago, or even before you'd created the gift mindset, like they might be, say, a year or two in their practice, and they're looking at you and saying, I want to be able to do something like that. I'd love to create something that's as like a big scale book like that. I'd love to work with you. I mean, some of these organizations that you've worked with are pretty incredible and big household names. What advice would you have for them if they're trying to work out how to elevate their practice?
Yeah, I think it starts with knowing your purpose and motivation.
Okay.
Anyone that comes to me, and there's been a bit of it of late, I'm going to leave and do this because I want to earn this and I don't want to have a boss, I know straight away they're not going to be successful.
Right.
So know your why. What is it? What problem? I always say, what problem do you want to solve?
Right.
Start with that and use the motivation to fuel you forward. The other thing I think I know has probably kept you going too, Jane, because it's clunky, it's wobbly. We all know that running a practice.
Yeah.
Something I say all the time is do what lights you up.
Right.
No, don't go into something just because you're good at it.
Right.
Go into something that you're good at, that you enjoy.
Right.
Because I can tell you, hand on heart, I wouldn't have got through the pandemic if I didn't love delivery, love connecting, love making a difference, love seeing people grow. There's no way.
Right. That's so valuable, Renée, because it's so easy to just go, oh, I'm going to do this because it means I get, I don't have to go into the city for my job, or, but you've got to really love it. Yeah.
You've got to have purpose. So, the towards and away from language, you hear it a mile away. Oh, I want to go into my own business because I don't want a boss, and I don't want a salary, and I don't want to go into the city. What do you want? And if you can't answer that, what do you want? What do you want? If you can't answer that, you're not ready.
Yes.
So I think know your purpose, use what lights you up, your motivation to fuel that purpose.
Right. And
be open. This is a big tip. Be open to that trajectory and that purpose slightly changing.
Right.
That's important.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think happens, Renée? Like, is that something that happened to you? Your purpose evolved and changed?
Yeah, it did. I think mine was a bit at the start, it was about growing others, but now it's bigger. It's making, if I had a one-liner, it's making workplaces better places to work.
Right.
And helping people realise and achieve what's possible.
Right.
And I couldn't have said that 10 years ago.
Really?
No, not in those words. And that's very broad, but everything I do fits under that.
Okay.
I think, workplaces are broken. We know that, right? We know the great resignation. I'm calling it the great rejuvenation, the big awakening. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Good workplaces will just go to the next level. The ones that aren't need to do some work.
Yes.
And I think this has been under the surface, I reckon, for 10 years.
Yeah.
And we've had this sort of earthquake.
Yes.
We have one in Melbourne this year. And it's exposed the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And I think the workplaces that have big purposes and real purposes that they're congruently adhering to, and practices and businesses that do, will get through this because their vision is their boss.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole Richard Branson.
Yeah.
If you've got that vision, it just pulls you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Renée, what's your vision for your practice? Where to from here? So you've achieved all this incredible success, and you have this book on this great publishing deal, and what is that dream practice, and what does the future look like for you?
My dream practice will be, and I have to say, when I thought about this question, because I am, me, I'm very big picture and very creative. So I saw, you don't want to know what I first saw, but I see in the next 5 years the gift mindset being part of workplace cultures all over the world. I see that. I actually can see it, and I see myself and a bigger team. I think I'll go more to a business model.
Right.
Running the 12 gifts, the 12 skills of a gift mindset. I see collaboration, not just in businesses, across businesses and industries. That's missing. So lots of bubble hopping.
Yes.
That's what I'd love to see. I feel, someone asked me the other day, when do I want to retire? What would I do? I will never retire.
No, I don't think you will either.
Yeah, I just have so much to do.
Yeah.
And so much to share, and I just feel I'm on the tip of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're just warming up too. You've been so open and so generous with sharing with us, Renée, your journey, and being able to, particularly you're at a really, really big tipping point in your practice, and to be able to speak with you at this time where there's so much evolving and changing. For those who, if you want to reach out and follow Renée, you want to follow her gift mindset work, jump on, grab the book. Renée, you've got some resources as well that people could jump on and get. Where would you like people to go to reach out to you?
Yeah, probably reneegiarrusso.com. If you go to resources, you can go through what you want to read, watch, or listen to.
Yes.
And the Limitless Leaders podcast is there.
Yeah.
And giftmindset.com. We have infographics and posters and interviews you can download for free. And also audiobook resources. So if you end up getting the Gift Mindset on audio, you can download walkthrough worksheets so you can work through the audiobook as well.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, jump on. If you haven't caught up with Renée, haven't followed her stuff, make sure you reach out and follow. I think she shared some really valuable stuff today around being able to, get your practice and to be able to step into that consulting space, to be able to work with the organisations. You have a look at some of the brands that Renée has worked with, and some key messages taking away today are, really narrowing down, get your positioning right. And you talked a lot about, just knowing your self-worth and what currency you're working with, and that community and tribe mindset to be able to build your practice. So lots of valuable, super valuable insights today, Renée. Thanks so much for being on, and we can't wait to have you back when you've achieved global domination.
No pressure. Thanks, Jane.
Thanks for coming on.